Hello all. In CG, materials play a crucial role in how our scenes, products, and characters look like. They're one of the most essential ingredients there is to a render, and I think we can all kind of agree on that one. That is why in V-Ray for Blender, you have a couple of different options on how you can create materials. You can use the AI material generator to create materials from the photos you take, or you can use Chaos Cosmos to simply import existing materials from the Cosmos library, which, by the way, also includes scanned materials called Chaos Scans. Or you can create your materials from complete scratch using any of the V-Ray materials. Now, in this video, we're going to have a look at how the general workflows look like. And we're going to be starting with the AI material generation. So first up, what you'll typically need is a photo of the material you want to recreate in your scene. You can either get it online, just to make sure that you respect people's sort of licensing terms and all that, right? Or you can actually snap one yourself. In which case, take your camera, phone, or mirrorless, or whatever, try not to snap any selfies, and take as good as a picture of your material as you can. Obviously, the better the photo, the better the material will look like when generated. Now, as you can probably imagine, the typical tips apply. Always try to snap the photo from a perpendicular position to your material and with even uniform lighting if possible. And if it's a large surface with a lot of patterns in it, try to snap the photo in a way so that you get as much of the surface in your picture as you can. Then in Blender, just bring up the Chaos Cosmos browser, go under the materials category, and then down here, you're going to be able to see that you have this AI material generator, generate button. Click on it. And then in here is where you want to drop your image. So let's do that. And then let's also click on this pattern utility button, and we're gonna generate a smart pattern by clicking on the smart pattern button. So what this is just going to select a repeating pattern for you automatically. You can at any point obviously also use these handles here to adjust the crop box yourself, right? Right. Now, once you're happy with it, just hit apply. And then if you want, you can play with these additional settings right here. So for resolution, most people will probably prefer 2K over 1K here. So we're going to select 2K. And then you can decide whether you want to delight the texture. So if you want to delight it, make sure that the preserve colors here toggle is set to off. In our case here, we want to have it actually to be set to on. And then what you can also do is you can make the texture tileable or not, or play with the, controls for the strength of the bump and surface details or the roughness, etc., etc. Now, once you're happy with these settings, just hit the generate button, then the processing is going to start. The processing will take some time. And just so you know, all the processing happens on the cloud and not locally. Now, once the processing is done, you're going to be able to see the preview of your material along with the albedo, normal, and roughness maps. Just hit the download button whenever you're ready. Give this thing a cool name because it's going to be saved in the Cosmos browser. In our case, we're going to call it the Cool Floor B material, I guess. We're going to hit save. We're going to wait for the processing to finish here. And then you can just import this thing into your scene. Now, once it's imported, you can just, apply it to your materials. So in this case, let's just search for it. We've got a lot of materials in the scene, but there we go. There it is. And now it's in our scene. As you can see, this is a fully tweakable material. You can tweak it as you wish. And you also already have a bit of a mapping setup already sort of laid out here. Now, in order to fix the scale here, probably what you would want to do in this case is bring in a V-Ray transform node, plug it into the UVW or texture transform slot. We're going to go with texture transform, and then play with the scale parameters, right? And there we go. We have our AI material generated material in our scene. Now, if you don't want to bother with snapping photos and you just want to use what already comes with V-Ray, you can simply open up Chaos Cosmos and just use the material library that comes with it. So you have a bunch of different categories of materials to choose from, so there's really quite a lot to pick from. Of course, if you'd like to know more about a given material, you can bring up the bigger preview window, and then you'll see more info about that material here. If you like a material, you can hit the download button, wait for it to download, and once it's downloaded, you just simply and easily import it into your scene by hitting the import button. In your scene, you can then apply to any objects you'd like. Plus, as you can see, you also have control over the material's properties, so you can change things up if you'd like to do so. And again, a thing to note, You also have these UV mapping nodes already in to control the mapping. Now, in the Cosmos library, you'll also be able to find materials that have this particular tag to them. These materials are chaos scans, which means they're pretty much exact replicas of real-world materials by means of them being meticulously scanned by some rather sophisticated machinery. These types of materials tend to be of really high quality and higher file sizes because essentially each material's unique properties and the way that it reacts to light are scanned and incorporated into the downloadable material that you then import into your scene. Now, the way you use them is rather easy and straightforward. Find the material you like. If you haven't yet, download it, and then just import it into your scene just like you would any other material. You'll see that even though these are scanned materials, you can still control some aspects of them. So, for example, triplanar mapping might be something you'll want to toggle often if you don't have properly made UVs. But beyond that, the paint color, if you change that, you can change the color of the material itself, which can be, in my opinion, very useful. Now, obviously, you're encouraged to play around with the other customization options as well, but we won't really cover them in this particular video. All in all, chaos scans can be incredibly awesome, and I personally tend to use them a lot. Okay, now beyond the workflows we just showcased, you can of course also build materials from complete scratch. The most often used material for this is the V-Ray material, as it gives you the ability to create pretty much any materials you'd want. So you can very quickly, for example, create glass materials. We have a new fresh V-Ray material here in front of us, and we're just going to lower its diffuse color to pure black. We're going to enable reflections, and as a bonus tip, if you go under your materials properties here under reflection and reflection advanced, and if you toggle this reflect on the backside to on here, you're going to be calculating, or you're going to get V-Ray to calculate those backside reflections as well. Then we just want to make this thing refractive as well. And just like that, we have our glass material. Now, if by any chance you want to have a tinted glass material, just go into refraction here, translucency, and then set the fog color to whatever color you'd like, really, and play around with the depth parameter. And there you go. There you have your tinted glass material. If, however, you're creating more diffuse, non-refractive materials, well then, just, bring in your albedo or diffuse texture in, just plug it into the bitmap node, which is what I'm doing right here, and then plug this thing into the diffuse color, right? So now you're going to see that the mapping is kind of off. We're going to very quickly fix that by bringing in a UVW mapping node. We're going to plug it into the mapping sort of input node field inside our V-Ray bitmap. And then we're going to set its projection here to planar because I think that's going to work well enough. Now we do want to scale this up just a little bit, I suppose. So we're going to bring in a V-Ray transform node as well. We can plug this into the UVW transform or the text transform here. We're going to go and plug it into the text transform. I think that's going to work best for us here. And I'm just going to make this thing a little bit bigger by adjusting the scale, right? Right. Now at this point, typically what you want to do is you want to enable reflections. And because we have a roughness map here, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to toggle this use roughness toggle here to on. So we can plug our roughness map in here instead of, being bound to this glossiness parameter. We're going to change the glossiness to roughness. It's essentially what we're doing here. Okay. And then we can just take this roughness map and plug it into the roughness slot here. Then also make sure that the mapping matches, what we did for our diffuse map there. Now for our normal map that we have here, first what we want to do is we want to make sure that its transfer function is set to linear. And then we're going to bring in a V-Ray normal bump node. We're going to plug our normal map into the map slot here. And then we're going to plug everything into the bump map slot, just like this. Now with the V-Ray normal bump selected, make sure that the map type here is set accordingly. In most situations, it is the correct option is normal map and tangent space, but you do have all these other options here as well. Okay. Then you can adjust the normal map multiplier, so the strength of it, etc., etc. So you have a bunch of different controls here then. Also, in this case, you do want to make sure that the mapping is again set correctly. So we're just going to drag that V-Ray UVW mapping sort of setup and to drive the normal map as well. And for the most part, that's the general workflow for pretty much creating any type of a material. Of course, you will probably want to tweak things and introduce imperfections and whatnot, so that you get this material looking, well, even more detailed, right? Now, the cool thing here is that the V-Ray material is a so-called Uber material that lets you recreate the vast majority of real-world materials without really needing to or having to mix multiple materials together. Most often, V-Ray material is the way to go. And if you want to blend multiple materials together, then you can just use the blend material to do that. Now, on top of that, you've got a bunch of other materials as well that you can use that are, different to the V-Ray material. And these are more specialized materials that you might want to use when you're recreating very specific materials or want some really specific controls that the V-Ray material can't give you. All right, and that's a wrap for this one. If you'd like to learn more about lighting in V-Ray for Blender, we have a video for that. Or if you'd like to focus more on cameras, we do have a video about that as well. Any and all comments are appreciated. And with that, let me just thank you for tuning in. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next one.